diversity refers to the range of differences between people in terms of race, ethnicity, age, geography, religion, values, culture, orientations, physical and mental health, and other distinguishing characteristics. Diversity recognizes the similarities that bind us together and respects the differences among cultures. Intersectionality is a factor of diversity that is explained in Chapter 2 as the idea that people are complex and can belong to multiple overlapping diverse groups. In the video Ask Me, intersectionality and diversity are key themes. We see that all the students belong to the LGBTQ community, but they also belong to other groups separated by factors including, but not limited to, age, race, sexual orientation, etc. Gender identity and sexual orientation are two significant aspects of diversity. Gender identity is a person's internal psychological self-concept of being either male or female, or possibly some combination of both. In the video Ask Me, one of the points that the LGBTQ community wanted their professors to know was to ask them how they identify. Identity is an important factor to the LGBTQ community. Having their professors know and understand how they identify makes classrooms safer and more comfortable for these students. Sexual orientation is a sexual and romantic attraction to persons of one of both genders. With understanding sexual orientation, it is also important to understand how imperative it is to also use correct language when communicating with members of the LGBTQ community. In Chapter 12, Oppression in the Macro Environment examines the oppressions of Hispanics in the U.S. The U.S. Census Bureau reported in 2011 that of Hispanic families, 23.5% have incomes below the poverty level compared to 11.7% of whites. In an article produced by Courtney Steen entitled 7 Kids, 1 Apartment, What Poverty Means to This Teen, we get an insider of the life of 17-year-old Gerald Gomez, who tells the story how poverty has held him back. Gomez lives in a tiny 1-bedroom New York apartment with 8 other family members. We learn that the mother, who only speaks Spanish, cleans houses for a living. The family brings in $30,000 a year, which is $15,000 below the poverty line. Growing up, Gomez has had to sacrifice school in order to babysit his siblings, and now he faces the dilemma of whether he should go to college and be forced to live at home or save money for his own apartment. Social and economic justice for people with intellectual and other developmental disabilities is another relevant topic in Chapter 12. In the video, Let's Talk About Intellectual Disabilities by Loretta Claiborne, we get a first-hand look at the hardships of those born with disabilities. Claiborne herself was born intellectually challenged. From birth, her mother shook off any negative speculations concerning the state of Loretta's challenges. Instead of her mother institutionalizing her, like they did to others during that time born with intellectual disabilities, her mother enrolled her in school with her other siblings. Claiborne has been an advocate for the attainment of better health care for those born with learning or intellectual disabilities. In Chapter 12, intellectual disabilities is defined as a condition where there is significantly sub-average general intellectual functioning, accompanied by significant limitations in adaptive functioning in at least 2 areas, and that has an onset occurring before age 18. In Chapter 13, sustainability in the global context involves development that meets the current needs of present generations without jeopardizing the ability of future generations to meet their needs. In the video Taking Root, we see the struggles of Wangari Maathai. Maathai is the founder of the 1977 Greenbelt movement in Kenya. Maathai began the movement after she saw the deforestation that began after the settlement of British settlers and the 1963 inauguration of Jomo Kenyatta. As a child, Maathai was born into a rural community that relied on the plentiful resources available. Being able to sustain their families and communities are important aspects of African tradition. Once she noticed the forest exploitation that was occurring and the reliance on commercial planting, she wanted to inspire the community to get back to their roots. Thus, the Greenbelt movement was started. With her and just a few women, they began planting trees in areas impacted. Soon, her movement inspired others. Due to her effort in protecting the environment, in 2004, she was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. The Greenbelt movement has planted over 35 million trees.